So the other day I meant to get a video up talking about some recent Battlefield information, but that didn't end up happening. The timing didn't work out, but it actually worked out pretty nicely because we got more information today that we can talk about even further in regards to the upcoming Battlefield offering, as a new labs test is going out to those chosen to participate in it. This is going to start focusing more on specific details of the game upcoming. The last was more of a general feel of weapon gunplay, movement, map routing, and things like that at a top level, but this upcoming test appears to be focused solely on destruction and gaining feedback on mechanics upcoming. Today we're going to be running down two things that appear to be pretty good news if you're a Battlefield fan or just someone interested in checking out the game whenever it may end up launching. So as we go along, drop your thoughts, drop a like if you enjoy the video, and make sure to subscribe for more Battlefield and other FPS coverage. I'd love to have you in the community, but for now, let's get into it. So earlier today, Battlefield dropped a new look at destruction along with a new community update surrounding the upcoming project. In this community update, they stated, "Our goals for destruction are centered around adding further gameplay depth by allowing you to reshape the environment and transform your surroundings towards a tactical advantage. For example, barging through walls to surprise your enemies, reshaping the battlefield to create new paths in capture zones, or taking down a building to take out an attacking squad. We're designing destruction around easily identifiable visual and audio language that lets you understand what can be destroyed, altered, or transformed through gameplay. We aim to make destruction an integral part of your Battlefield experience to create an intuitive, fun, and rewarding environment where you feel empowered to shape the world around you. Once a wall takes enough damage from an explosion, smaller impacts such as bullets, those will also contribute to its destruction, allowing you to shoot your way through walls, building apple cores as they start to break down, leaving their core exposed as destroyed parts create rubble and debris on the ground around it. At this stage within Battlefield Labs, our main focus points are understanding which environments can and cannot be destroyed and which type of firepower is required for different material types, the impact of collateral damage from debris and destructible elements, tactical use of destruction to create new pathing or persistent environments, and balancing the ecosystem of damage through firepower and destruction." Then they rounded this out by saying their learnings so far, where they said the initial Battlefield Labs play sessions were to test server performance, gunplay, and movement, and for participants to get an initial understanding of what's next for Battlefield. They say they've seen feedback around the balancing of destructible objects across the map and the fine-tuning of damage levels of surfaces. Destruction will be an ongoing topic within our play sessions, and we'll continue to test these and other areas of destruction throughout upcoming play sessions. So far, it seems like the reaction to these clips of the destruction and what we've learned out of this have been very solid. People appear to, at least off the initial tweets about the update and the video, they appear to be happy with what this looks like, again, at least on the surface. We don't know exactly how this will work on a more intricate level. We don't know how this affects kills inside of buildings. We don't know how hard it's going to be to just blow through a wall. There's a lot, again, that's going to be tested for this exact reason on how we can find the nice balance of all this kind of stuff. My sort of only initial response to this is not necessarily something that's negative, but more so something that I would like to see even further in Battlefield, is that I personally hope, at least, and maybe feel the same, maybe disagree, totally fine, that there's at least one or two like awe-inspiring set pieces throughout some of the maps that can be taken down and can be destroyed. That, like, in the full game, while we're only seeing the first two maps or three maps, I think, that have gone through Battlefield Labs, when the full game is out and the full amount of maps is around there, I would love for there to be a set piece that they're like, holy hell, they really did that. Something like Siege of Shanghai's skyscraper collapse or something. Maybe not quite to that scale, but something that draws your entire attention, and it happens that the entire map kind of just stops and is like, oh, there's the thing. That kind of thing. I think that'd be really cool. I think that'd be something that adds to the grandeur of Battlefield's experience, something that a lot of people may have come to expect over the like large scale destruction like that. But in terms of how the destruction looks just based off that one clip, I think it's a really nice start here. Not to mention, if most of the environment can be destroyed like that, that's pretty cool. They said they're still trying to find the balance on what they're going to allow for destructibility, what can be reshaped, and what isn't destructible at all. So there's definitely going to be parameters, but all that to say, this is certainly a step in the right direction compared to what we saw with, say, 2042 and the poor destruction there. So I am curious to see where we go, the general consensus outside of this clip in particular as time passes, as more people get more hands-on with Battlefield Labs and everything else as we learn more about the game upcoming. But I do think it's a very nice step and a nice thing to reveal now. More importantly, though, whenever we talk about the future, I'm actually just curious when we're going to see an official announcement of some kind. Like, kind of deviating off the topic I want to touch on, that's what I'm most curious on, because it seems like we've learned a lot about the basics and the foundation of the game so far, but you also have to remember, there's been no official announcement for the game. No official title, no official release date, so I'm curious when that stuff starts to kick up. But Okay, that's some good news, I think, personally, and the destruction looks cool. But another thing that was clarified recently was that of potential skill-based matchmaking within Battlefield. For those that haven't seen it, there were data mined files and matchmaking details from one of the prior Battlefield Labs tests. That was something that got people all up in arms, and understandably so. That's a very touchy subject right now. That's something that the hardcore community does not enjoy, and especially for things like Battlefield, it would really, I think, take away from some of that experience that is this kind of giant sandbox of however you want to play around in this world playing Battlefield. This then, because it caught fire so quickly, because it did become something that was immediately latched onto in the community, got a response from David Serland, lead producer on Battlefield at DICE, where he responded in the bubble within the Battlefield Labs private Discord by saying, PSA, 2042 had skill-based matchmaking according to this definition. This is what I tried to detail above yesterday. It has a factor of skill, it's used, but ping and time to game is the top priority. And in a 64-player game, our want is to spawn servers that start as soon as possible. Thus, the skill factor is negligible in terms of sorting into servers. Also, with a party that is more or less ignored. Just for clarity, saying skill-based matchmaking is bad is not really useful. What you really want to say is heavy skill-based matchmaking, where skill separation is a priority, is bad. But that doesn't make skill as a factor in matchmaking bad wholesale. On the contrary, we need a skill value to balance teams, no matter the range of skills total on a server. It wouldn't be fun if all the high skill players ended up on the same team, would it? Just to calm this thing down a bit, the fact of skill value is in the matchmaker. It's been there since we started being able to matchmake, by the way. Doesn't mean that we're going with a heavy-handed SBMM solution. Quite the opposite. Battlefield is at its best when you play the all-out war modes with friends and different types of players. We do not want to limit that. All of this is also true, skill being important for team balancing, regardless of in which way you join the server for reference. Did you feel like the Battlefield Labs playtests were heavy-handed SBMM? No, then we're good. It's the same matchmaker and settings we'll use, with tweaks if we find any issues, of course. So at face value, this sounds like this leak is just out of context and kind of blown out of proportion, which does happen. That's one thing that we talk about with every single leak video that we detail, is that what we talk about is completely out of context. It's just a snapshot in time of that build, isolated from any other variables or factors that could contribute to the larger picture. I definitely do think that in today's day and age, it's understandable to see a knee-jerk reaction like that, especially for that topic. But it is nice to hear that from the team, it's not exactly what it looks like, and that it's instead just for team balancing, because, I mean, that's something that has had semblance of skill-based matchmaking, but only sort of after the fact. Every one of your beloved games with matchmaking from the late 2000s to early 2010s had it there solely for the fact of when you get 12 to 64 players together, it's not an entirely lopsided blowout. Instead, it's a little competitive at its nature, but you'd often see that balancing of sometimes 1 and 12, 11 and 2, and things like that, to take that little bit of skill that's designated for each of those players, and then just make sure that it's not something that's just completely unenjoyable for all parties involved. Now, does it suck maybe sometimes if you end up having that outlier that is definitely by and far the best player and they have to carry 5 other teammates? Sure, but I think that's a way more organic way to matchmaking as opposed to a skill-based matchmaking system. That's how it was in the past, and based off this logic, it does sound like that's what they're attempting to do again. Personally, I think that it'd be nice to have a server browser as the or a main way to end up matchmaking, like official servers you can join that are consistently on this rotation of maps, modes, whatever the case, hosted by Battlefield, but also ones that the community can also host that maybe you're more so one map 24/7, a hardcore variation of it, some slight different variations on rule sets, whatever the case. But I do ultimately think that both of those systems can coexist, where you can opt into your own custom matchmaking with server browsers, but for those that just want quick play selections, like any casual player or somebody that just wants to spend some time playing some Battlefield, you can adhere to the built-in matchmaking systems. And I do think that both of those can work very well in tandem together. I don't see those as too conflicting and both serving purposes that are for different types of players. But I definitely think that it's nice to have that clarification that what we see isn't exactly always what we'll get. That out of context stuff is definitely something that can stir the pot a little bit, but it's nice to have this, I think, addressed head on versus letting this sort of stir within the community, building up to the point where people are getting more and more mad at something that might not even happen. So I do think that this is nice to address this, and I do hope that in the future, this is something that is kind of jumps the gun and kind of forgoes the standard PR systems in place. Like if something should be addressed, I think you just say go for it and address it rather than having to go through all the normal channels that would take a little bit of time, the bureaucracy of running a project of this kind of scale. But I mean, I guess that's just an outside perspective. Probably don't have enough context myself to really speak on this type of thing. But anyways, nice to see that these were addressed. And again, as with the destruction, I think they're good strides in the right direction. So that is, we're going to wrap it up. Just want to fill you guys in with something that I wanted to talk about a couple of days ago, but also something that actually happened as of today. So let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of this new information for Battlefield and what we have upcoming? Looking forward to the product at large now. Does this get you excited at all for what we may see here in the near future? Whatever the case, drop your thoughts. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor, drop a like on it. Of course, if you aren't new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Battlefield and other FPS content. I'd love to have you in the community. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.